Emma. The little girl turned around. Her mother was standing in the doorway. The marker stopped halfway across the whiteboard. Mom. Lauren Bennett didn't answer immediately. She was looking at the board. There were equations covering almost every inch of it. Probability trees, ratios, sequences, a set of variables connected by arrows. Lauren recognized some of the notation from meetings at Bennett Dynamics. Her engineers had been struggling with similar probability models for nearly 2 weeks. She looked at her daughter. Who taught you this? Emma glanced at the board. Jack. Jack who? The man downstairs. Lauren frowned. What man? The one who cleans at night. Lauren stared at her. The janitor? Emma nodded. He knows math. Lauren walked into the room. Emma, where did you get these problems? Mr. Carter gave them to me. Mr. Carter. Jack Carter. Lauren looked back at the board. You've been doing this with him? Emma nodded. For how long? Emma thought about it. Since October. Lauren's face changed. October? Yeah. It was February. For months. Lauren looked at her daughter, trying to understand how she had missed something this large. You've been meeting him for 4 months? Emma shrugged. You never asked. The answer landed harder than Lauren expected. She put her purse on the table. Where is he? Downstairs. Does he work here? He cleans here. Lauren took a breath. Emma, you shouldn't be meeting adults in the building without telling me. He doesn't do anything. I didn't say he did. Emma looked confused. Then why are you mad? Lauren opened her mouth. Nothing came out. She was angry. But beneath the anger was something else. Fear. She had spent years making sure Emma was protected. After her husband died, she had built Emma's life around careful choices. The right school, the right teachers, the right people. And now she had discovered that her daughter had been secretly spending time with a man Lauren barely knew. Lauren picked up the marker from the table. Go get Helen. We're going home. Emma looked at the board. But I'm not finished. You can finish tomorrow. Emma's face fell. Okay. She walked toward the door. Lauren watched her leave. Then she looked at the equations again. She took out her phone and photographed the board. A few minutes later, she sent the picture to Daniel Foster, her head of engineering. Tell me what you see. The reply came quickly. Where did you get this? Lauren stared at the message. She typed, My daughter. Daniel called immediately. Lauren answered. What? Lauren, that's not a child's worksheet. I know. No, I don't think you do. She looked at the board. What is it? Daniel was quiet for a moment. It's remarkably close to a probability framework we're working on. Lauren's grip tightened around the phone. Are you saying my 8-year-old daughter solved part of your problem? No. Then what are you saying? I'm saying whoever taught her understood what they were doing. Lauren looked toward the doorway. For the first time, she wondered who Jack Carter really was. Lauren didn't use the executive elevator the next afternoon. She took the stairs. She told herself it was because she didn't want anyone following her. That wasn't entirely true. She wanted to see Jack before she decided what to do. When she reached the basement, she heard Emma's voice. If I change this number, everything after it changes. A man's voice answered. Maybe. Emma sounded irritated. I already calculated it. You calculated one version. What's wrong with it? Nothing. Emma waited. Jack continued. That's the problem. Lauren stopped outside the door. Emma was sitting at a small table. Jack was across from her. He wasn't teaching from a textbook. There wasn't even a laptop open. Just paper, a pencil, and a cup of coffee. Jack looked up. He saw Lauren. He didn't stand. Emma turned around. Mom. Come upstairs. Emma frowned. But now? She looked at Jack. Jack gave her a small nod. Go. Emma gathered the papers. As she walked past her mother, she whispered, Don't make him stop. Lauren heard her. She waited until Emma was gone. Then she entered. Mr. Carter. Lauren. You know who I am. I work here. That wasn't my question. Jack leaned back slightly. You're Emma's mother. Lauren folded her arms. How long have you been teaching her? I wouldn't call it teaching. What would you call it? She asks questions. And you answer them. Sometimes. Lauren stared at him. You've been doing this for 4 months. Yes. Without my permission. Yes. There was no defensiveness in his voice. That irritated her more. You don't think that's a problem? Jack considered it. I think I should have spoken to you. That isn't what I asked. I know. Lauren glanced at the papers. She isn't supposed to be doing work like this. Why? Because she's 8. Jack nodded. She is. She's not an adult. No. She needs appropriate material. Jack looked toward the door. She finishes the appropriate material in 10 minutes. Lauren's expression tightened. That doesn't give you the right to decide what she needs. No. He paused. You're right. The answer caught her off guard. Jack gathered the papers. I'll stop. Lauren hadn't expected it to be that easy. She turned toward the door. Then Jack said, she doesn't need someone to make things easier for her. Lauren stopped. Excuse me. She gets frustrated. That's normal. She doesn't need to be frustrated. Jack looked at her. Sometimes she does. Lauren turned around. You don't know my daughter. I know she asks for another problem when she finishes one. That doesn't mean anything. It means she's interested. Lauren's jaw tightened. You're a maintenance worker. I am. You aren't her teacher. No. Then don't act like you are. Jack nodded. Fair enough. Lauren left. She felt like she had won an argument. But by the end of the week, she wasn't so sure. Emma stopped asking questions. She stopped bringing home extra problems. She finished her homework quickly and spent the rest of the evening staring out the window. One night, Lauren found her sitting at the kitchen table. You finished already? Emma nodded. Want to do something else? No. Lauren sat down. School okay? Yeah. Math? Fine. You don't sound fine. Emma shrugged. Lauren waited. After a while, Emma said, Mr. Carter didn't make me feel stupid when I got things wrong. Lauren looked at her. I never said you were stupid. I know. Emma pushed the worksheet away. You just don't let me be wrong. Lauren had no answer. Emma went upstairs. Lauren remained at the table. Her laptop was open. Emails waited for her. A presentation needed approval. Her phone kept buzzing. She ignored all of it. For the first time, she wondered if protecting Emma had slowly turned into controlling her. She didn't like the thought, so she pushed it away. The next morning, a file arrived on her desk. It was 41 pages long. The name on the front was Jack Carter. Lauren expected employment records. She got much more. Jack Carter had joined the United States Navy at 18. He had completed specialized training and later served with a Navy SEAL team. His work had involved logistics, threat assessment, planning, and decision-making under uncertainty. Lauren read the page twice. Then she kept going. After leaving the military, Jack had worked in risk consulting. He had also taught applied mathematics. There were several references from former colleagues. One described him as patient. Another said he had a habit of giving students problems they didn't think they could solve. Lauren stopped there. She remembered Emma. She kept reading. Jack had been offered several high-paying positions after leaving consulting. He turned them down. The reason appeared several pages later. His son, Ethan, was 10 years old. Jack was raising him alone. His previous work required frequent travel. Eventually, he accepted the night maintenance position at Bennett Dynamics. His shift began at 6 in the evening. It ended at 2 in the morning. That schedule allowed him to be home in the morning. Lauren leaned back. She looked out through the glass wall of her office. For years, she had believed success meant moving upward. More responsibility, more money, more influence. Jack had apparently walked away from all three. She went back to the report. A former colleague had remembered something Jack used to tell his students. Discomfort isn't failure. Lauren closed the file. She thought about Emma. Then her phone rang. Daniel, we have another deviation. Lauren's eyes narrowed. Same system. Yes. Same error. Small difference in the probability output. Could be calibration. We thought that. And it happened again. Lauren stood. How many times? 3. When? Different tests. Same general window. Lauren looked at the report on her desk. How long? Daniel knew what she meant. The government demonstration is 12 days away. Lauren closed her eyes. Keep working. We are. Then work differently. She ended the call. For the next several days, Bennett Dynamics barely slept. Engineers worked late. Some stayed overnight. Reports filled Lauren's desk. Nothing explained the problem. Then Richard Cole entered her office. Richard was the company's chief operating officer. He had been with Lauren for 8 years. He was calm under pressure. Always. Got a minute? Lauren looked up. 5. Richard sat. I've been reviewing the demonstration risk. That's Daniel's job. I know. He placed a folder on her desk. If the system fails publicly, we need a clear response structure. Lauren opened it. The proposal reassigned several emergency decisions to Richard. She looked up. You prepared this already? I prepared for a possibility. You seem very comfortable with that possibility. Richard smiled slightly. I'm comfortable being prepared. Lauren closed the folder. We'll discuss it if we need it. Richard stood. Of course. He left. Lauren looked at the document again. Something about it bothered her. She couldn't explain what. Then she remembered a sentence from Jack's report. People reveal what they value by what they organize their lives around. Richard had been organizing around her failure. That night, Lauren came home late. Emma was still awake. She was sitting on the floor beside her bed with a notebook. Why aren't you sleeping? Couldn't. Lauren sat on the edge of the bed. What are you working on? Emma turned the notebook around. There were numbers everywhere. Lauren smiled faintly. Another problem? Emma nodded. It's about your system. Lauren's smile disappeared. What system? The one at work. Emma. I heard you talking. Lauren sighed. That's private. I know. Then don't worry about it. Emma looked at the page. What's wrong with it? We don't know. Does it break? No. Then what's wrong? It gives the wrong answer. Emma thought about that. Does the computer think it's wrong? No. Then how do you know? Lauren stared at her. That was the question. Emma continued. Mr. Carter says the dangerous mistakes are the ones that look normal. Lauren sat down beside her. What else did he say? Emma drew an arrow on the page. He calls it an upstream problem. What does that mean? If the machine is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, maybe someone gave it the wrong information before it got there. Lauren looked at the arrow, then at her daughter. Who told you that? Jack. Lauren was silent. 31 engineers had spent days looking at the platform. Nobody had asked that question. She stood. Go to sleep. Emma smiled. Are you going to ask him? Lauren looked back. Maybe. The next morning, she found Jack downstairs. I need your help. Jack looked up. With our logistics system. He waited. Lauren explained the problem. Jack listened. When she finished, he asked, the errors pass validation? Yes. Then why are they looking at the platform? Because that's where the problem shows up. That isn't the same thing. Lauren nodded. I know. Who controls the inputs? I'd have to check. Find out. Lauren watched him. You'll help? 3 hours. That's it. That's what you asked for. She nodded. Tomorrow morning. Jack picked up his clipboard. 7. Fine. He looked at her. And Emma? Lauren hesitated. Twice a week. Good. And I want to meet your son. Jack smiled for the first time. That's more complicated. Why? He's opinionated. Lauren almost laughed. So is my daughter. Then they'll probably get along. The next morning, Jack walked into the engineering department. The room went quiet. Daniel looked at Lauren. You're serious? Yes. Jack ignored the looks. He walked to the whiteboard. Show me the timeline. Daniel pulled up the data. Jack didn't ask anyone to explain the entire system. He wanted dates, times, access records, changes, who was present, who wasn't. Daniel answered. Jack interrupted when something didn't make sense. First deviation, January 14th. Who had access? Engineering, infrastructure, and senior administrators. Who was in the building? Daniel checked. Most of the executive team. Richard Cole. Yes. Did he stay? Daniel hesitated. For most of it. Most. He left for about 40 minutes. Jack looked at Lauren. When Daniel gave him the time, Jack pointed at Brian. Pull the access logs for that window. Brian looked at Lauren. She nodded. 2 hours passed. Jack worked quietly. He spread reports across a long table. Then he moved them. Daniel watched. You're reorganizing the data. By time. We organized it by error type. That hides the sequence. Sarah Mitchell, one of the senior engineers, stepped closer. What sequence? Jack pointed. These. He marked several entries. They happen around the same processing period. Sarah looked at the screen. That process runs automatically. I know. So what are you suggesting? Someone is changing something before the process starts. Daniel frowned. The input data is validated. After it's entered. Jack pointed at the figures. Look at these values. Sarah leaned closer. They're within tolerance. Exactly. Jack circled 3 numbers. Whoever is doing this knows the tolerance. Daniel's face changed. They aren't trying to corrupt the data. No. They're adjusting it. Small adjustments. Enough to change the outcome. Jack nodded. Lauren looked at him. Why? He met her eyes. If the system crashes, everyone looks for sabotage. And if it doesn't, they blame themselves. The room became quiet. Jack continued. Your engineers have been looking for a technical failure. Daniel stared at the data. They've been debugging a problem that isn't in the system. Jack nodded. Check who can change the inputs. Brian began searching. A few minutes later, he stopped. There's a remote session. Daniel moved closer. When? During the first demonstration. What account? Service account. Who authenticated it? Brian swallowed. The token originated from Richard Cole's workstation. Nobody spoke. Lauren looked at the access log, then at Richard's contingency proposal sitting on her desk. Everything connected. Richard didn't need the system to collapse completely. He needed it to become unreliable. Then he would step forward with a solution. Lauren's voice was quiet. Don't contact him. Daniel nodded. Jack looked at the screen. There's something else. Lauren turned. What? This is too clean. Daniel frowned. What does that mean? He didn't build one way to hurt you. Jack tapped the access record. He built a plan. Lauren barely slept. The next morning, she called Daniel. I want the entire demonstration environment checked. The entire thing? Everything. Lauren, that's a lot. Do it. Daniel paused. Okay. She ended the call. Then she went to Emma's room. Emma was already awake. You're up early. So are you. I couldn't sleep. Emma looked at her. Is the system okay? I'm working on it. Is Jack helping? Lauren smiled. Yes. Emma returned to her notebook. Good. Lauren stayed in the doorway. She wanted to tell her daughter everything. Instead, she said, Thank you. Emma looked up. For what? For asking questions. Emma shrugged. That's what questions are for. Lauren smiled. At work, Richard was waiting outside her office. Morning. Morning. I saw the latest system report. Lauren put her bag down. We're making progress. Good. Richard sat. I revised the contingency structure. He handed her another document. Lauren didn't touch it. You've spent a lot of time planning for failure. Richard's expression barely changed. That's my job. Is it? He looked at her. Is there something you're trying to say? Lauren smiled. Not yet. Richard stood. Then I'll leave you to it. When the door closed, Lauren locked it. She sent the document to her attorney. An hour later, Daniel called. Found something. Lauren answered immediately. What? The demonstration room network. What about it? It was rerouted 5 days ago. Lauren stood. By whom? Officially, maintenance. And unofficially, the configuration was changed from a workstation assigned to Richard's assistant. She's been on leave. For 2 weeks. Lauren closed her eyes. Where does the new route go? Through a server cluster controlled by operations. Richard. Yes. What happens if it goes down? The platform keeps running. Lauren frowned. That doesn't sound bad. It isn't. Daniel paused. The room loses the live feed. Lauren understood. Richard had prepared a second failure. If the platform survived, the demonstration itself could still collapse. Can we reverse it? Yes. Do it tonight. Already started. Lauren sat down. For the first time in days, She breathed normally. Then her phone buzzed. A message from Jack. Don't change anything, he expects to still be broken. Lauren typed back. We found the second route. A moment later. Good. Keep him comfortable. She smiled. For the first time, she understood how Jack thought. Don't rush. Don't show your hand. Let the other person believe the plan is still working. That afternoon, Jack came to Lauren's house. Ethan came with him. Emma opened the door. She looked at Ethan. Ethan looked at her. Do you like puzzles? Emma asked. Depends. On what? If they're good. Emma smiled. Come upstairs. They disappeared. Lauren watched them go. Jack put his bag down. They'll be fine. I hope so. They already like each other. You got that from 30 seconds? I've got a 10-year-old. Lauren laughed quietly. They sat at the kitchen table. After a moment, Lauren said, Why did you take the job? Jack looked at her. You read the report. I did. So you know? I want to hear it from you. He thought about it. Ethan was too. Lauren waited. I was traveling a lot. How much? Too much. Jack looked down at his coffee. One night, I came home after 3 days away. He stopped. Lauren didn't interrupt. My mother told me Ethan had been getting out of bed. Was he sick? No. Jack shook his head. He'd walk into my room. Lauren watched him. Every night. For a while. What did he do? Nothing. Jack's voice was quiet. He'd stand there. And then, go back to bed. Lauren didn't know what to say. So you quit. I changed jobs. You could have made a lot more money. Jack looked at her. I know. Do you regret it? No. He said it immediately. Lauren nodded. From upstairs came a burst of laughter. Both of them looked toward the ceiling. Jack smiled. That's why? Lauren looked at him. She understood. Not completely, but enough. The days passed. Richard continued behaving normally. He didn't know the network had been restored. He didn't know the input manipulation had been documented. He didn't know the board had been quietly informed. He thought Lauren was still trying to save a failing system. 3 days before the demonstration, Lauren received a message from Richard. Need confirmation on tomorrow's leadership briefing. She stared at it. He still thought he had control. She replied. 9:15. Richard responded. Understood. Lauren showed the message to Jack. He thinks he has the room. Jack nodded. Let him. You really don't like rushing things. No. Why? Rushing makes people careless. Lauren smiled. You've been waiting for me to learn that, haven't you? Jack shook his head. No. What then? You've been learning it. Lauren looked at him. That's different. It's better. She smiled. Then her expression became serious. When this is over, I want to talk. About Richard? About everything. Jack nodded. One problem at a time. Lauren smiled. That's another one of your rules. No. Then what is it? Parenting. Before she could answer, Emma shouted from the other room. Mom, Ethan says my solution is wrong. Ethan shouted back. It is. Emma appeared in the doorway. Tell him. Lauren looked at Jack. Jack raised both hands. Not getting involved. Emma frowned. That's not fair. Jack smiled. You'll survive. Emma returned to the room. Lauren watched her. Something had changed. The house felt different. Emma was no longer disappearing into her room. Lauren had started coming home earlier. Not every day, but enough for Emma to notice. It wasn't a dramatic transformation. It was simply presence. Lauren finally understood that sometimes change didn't arrive with a speech. Sometimes it looked like sitting at the kitchen table for 20 extra minutes. The morning of the demonstration, Lauren arrived at Bennett Dynamics before 7. Her attorney was waiting. 6 board members arrived shortly afterward. Richard had no idea. He was preparing for a leadership briefing he believed would give him control of the response if the demonstration failed. At 8:10, Lauren entered the boardroom. She placed evidence folders in front of each director. The chairman looked at her. What happened? Someone inside the company has been deliberately interfering with the demonstration. The room went still. Lauren explained the altered input data, then the service account, then Richard's workstation, then the second network route, then the contingency documents. Nobody interrupted. When she finished, one director asked, Who discovered the pattern? Lauren paused. Jack Carter. The chairman looked confused. Carter. He works in maintenance. Silence. Another director leaned back. Maintenance. Yes. And how did he get involved? My daughter knew him. Lauren looked down for a moment. I almost stopped him from helping. Why? Lauren looked at the board. Because I made an assumption. Nobody asked what kind. They didn't need to. Lauren continued. He didn't know our system. He didn't know our company. He didn't have a title that suggested he should be in that room. But he asked a different question. The chairman looked at the evidence. What question? Not what is broken. Lauren looked at him. Who changed the conditions? Nobody spoke. The vote took less than 20 minutes. Richard's authority was suspended. His system access was removed. The investigation would continue independently. At 8:57, Lauren received a message. Richard has been notified. He left the building. She put the phone down. No shouting. No confrontation. It was almost anticlimactic. But perhaps that was appropriate. Richard had spent months hiding behind ordinary decisions. Now ordinary evidence had taken everything away. At 10 o'clock, the auditorium was full. Government officials sat in the front. Board members watched from the side. Engineers waited near the control room. Lauren stood backstage. Daniel approached. Everything is clean. The network. Clean. The system. Clean. She nodded. Then she saw Emma. Her daughter was sitting in the front row. Beside her was Ethan. Jack sat on the other side. Lauren walked onto the stage. She had prepared an introduction. She didn't use it. Before we begin, I want to explain something. The room became quiet. For the past several weeks, our company has been dealing with a technical problem. She looked toward the engineers. We have some of the smartest people in the industry working here. Daniel smiled slightly. Lauren continued. And they did what they were trained to do. She paused. They looked at the system. A few people exchanged glances. But the answer wasn't there. Lauren turned toward Jack. The person who found it works in this building. Jack looked down. His expression didn't change. His name is Jack Carter. Lauren paused. His job is night maintenance. The room became quieter. We almost missed his contribution because we had already decided what someone with that job could. No. She looked at the audience. That was my mistake. Then she turned toward the screen. Now let's begin. The demonstration started. The platform processed the first scenario. Clean. The second. Clean. Then the final simulation. Multiple routes. Changing conditions. Competing priorities. The system recalculated. The answer appeared. No error. Daniel looked at the screen. Lauren watched the officials. One of them leaned forward. Run it again. They did. The result appeared faster. Applause broke out. Lauren looked toward Emma. Her daughter was smiling. Ethan was clapping. Jack wasn't. He was simply watching the screen. Lauren smiled. She understood why. The system had done exactly what it was supposed to do. That was enough. The investigation eventually confirmed the evidence against Richard. He was terminated. But Lauren didn't consider that the end of the story. It was the beginning of another one. She started noticing things she had ignored before. The security staff she passed every morning. The assistants who knew everything about the company but were rarely invited into important meetings. The technicians who solved problems executives never heard about. The cleaners who knew which conference rooms were occupied before anyone else. She began asking questions. And more importantly, she started listening to the answers. A few months later, Lauren called Jack into her office. I want to offer you a position. Jack sat across from her. What kind? Risk analysis. He shook his head. No. You haven't heard the salary. I don't need to. Lauren smiled. You really are difficult. I've been told. She tried again. A flexible role. Jack considered it. What does flexible mean? You choose the schedule. And Ethan, you're home in the mornings. Jack nodded. That works. Lauren smiled. I'll have HR prepare everything. One condition. She waited. No title that makes me responsible for pretending I know everything. Lauren laughed. Deal. But Jack didn't want to spend his time helping the company alone. He had another idea. A learning space. For the children of employees. Not just executives. Everyone. They found an unused floor. Tables were brought in. Whiteboards covered the walls. Computers were installed. There were no special seats. No executive section. No VIP room. Jack insisted on that. Lauren agreed. They called it the open table. Emma loved it. Ethan loved it too. Children came after school. Some were gifted. Some struggled. Some were shy. Some talked too much. Jack treated them all the same. He didn't rush to give answers. He asked questions. What do you know? What don't you know? What did you assume? What happens if you're wrong? Emma began helping younger children. At first, Lauren watched from a distance. Then one afternoon, she heard Emma say something familiar. Don't worry if you get it wrong. A little boy looked frustrated. I don't understand. Emma smiled. Good. He frowned. Why is that good? Because now we know where to start. Lauren stood at the doorway. She looked across the room. Jack was helping Ethan with a map. Emma was drawing numbers on a whiteboard. Children were arguing over answers. Nobody cared who their parents were. Nobody cared about titles. Nobody was being treated like they didn't belong. Lauren thought about the night she had first walked into that basement. She had seen a janitor. That was all. She hadn't seen the teacher. She hadn't seen the father. She hadn't seen the man who had spent years learning how to recognize patterns under pressure. She hadn't seen the person who would eventually save the company from a disaster she couldn't even understand. She had seen a job title, and she had been wrong. A year after that first night, Emma stood at the front of the open table. She was 9 now. A group of younger children sat in front of her. On the whiteboard was a difficult problem. One boy looked at it and groaned. That's impossible. Emma laughed. It isn't. How do you know? Because I got it wrong before. The boy looked confused. That doesn't make sense. It does. Emma picked up the marker. When I first saw something like this, I wanted someone to give me an easier problem. She looked across the room. Jack was standing near the back. He was listening. Emma continued. But Mr. Carter didn't. The children looked at him. Jack smiled. Emma turned back to the board. He asked me what I knew. She wrote something. Then he waited. The room became quiet. Emma made a mistake. She stopped, looked at it, then erased part of the equation. See? The little boy raised his hand. You got it wrong. Emma smiled. I know. She pointed to the board. That's useful. Why? Because now we know what not to do. The children laughed. Lauren stood near the door. She watched her daughter. There had been a time when Lauren would have rushed in, corrected the mistake, given Emma the answer, made the problem easier. Now she didn't. She simply watched. Jack walked past her. Lauren looked at him. You know, she said. Jack glanced into the room. You didn't. I still can't believe I almost stopped all of this. I tried. You changed your mind. Because you proved me wrong. Jack shook his head. No. Lauren looked at him. Then why? Because you were willing to look again. He walked toward the children. Lauren stayed where she was. She thought about how easily people could disappear behind assumptions. A janitor could be a teacher. A quiet child could be brilliant. A successful executive could be dishonest. A billionaire could still be a mother who didn't know how to slow down. None of those things were visible from a job title, or a salary, or a reputation, or the first impression someone made. Inside the room, Emma raised the marker. Okay, she said to the children. Let's try again. The little boy who had called the problem impossible looked at the board. He picked up his pencil. Can you help me? Emma smiled. I'll give you one hint. What? Tell me what you know for sure. The boy looked at the numbers again. Then he started writing. Lauren watched. And for once, she didn't need to solve anything. She simply stood there and let the moment happen. Because sometimes the person everyone overlooks is the one who sees the problem differently. Sometimes the answer isn't missing. Sometimes you're simply looking in the wrong place. And sometimes the greatest change begins when someone finally stops asking, what can a person like that possibly know? And starts asking, what have I failed to notice? Lauren had spent years building a company around numbers. Jack had taught her that numbers mattered. But so did the person asking the questions. And so did the child willing to struggle. And so did the father who chose to be home. And so did the janitor everyone walked past. Emma looked up from the whiteboard. I think I've got it. Jack smiled. Then prove it. Emma turned back to the problem. The room filled with quiet concentration. And Lauren smiled. This time, she knew exactly what she was looking at. If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more emotional stories like this one. And tell me in the comments, would you have trusted Jack if you were Lauren?